What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Brothers Geek Out podcast. This is a movie review for A Million Miles Away. Now, me and Kids briefly spoke about this movie on the podcast, but this movie's been on my mind, and I was like, you know what? I need more of a long form like expression of this movie because it's been on my mind for a while since we watched it. And I was just like, what we spoke about on the podcast just didn't give it justice on how good I think the movie is and the reason why and the thought process behind it. So it's a biopic about an individual named Jose Hernandez and his path from becoming a farm worker to becoming an engineer and then an astronaut. He had a dream to become an astronaut, and just the way he had to overcome adversity and just follow that dream to get there. It's just been absolutely amazing. It's directed by Alejandro Marquez Abela, starring Michael Pena, who does an amazing job. Michael Pena is he's there's something amazing about whatever he does, be it this movie, which was absolutely fantastic in. See it, Ant-Man, that just that role in there he does there is amazing. End of Watch. Like, he's so captivating in his style of acting. He reminds me of my uncle actually. But anyway, this individual, let me just bring it up. Jose Hernandez was born in Mexico. While working in the fields, he co-developed the first digital mammography imagery system, which has got something to do with some kind of X-ray film or something like that. And then he preserved to become a crew member on the space shuttle mission STS-128. Now, this movie's out on Amazon Prime, and watched it last week. And like I said, it's the whole. I mean, look, the movie's captivating. Michael Pena is so captivating in the movie, and it's a real biopic, so it already gets you in because it's a real story. You already know that this individual is going to become an astronaut, but just to see that journey from and the hustle that they had to go through, him, his family, it's just amazing. And there's something about that blue collar, that hardworking, father and family, that immigrant family, that immigrant mentality, that stuff in general, that hardworking father who tries to set things up in the right way for his family. And that's what happened with this movie. His family moved to the States from Mexico. And he had a dream of buying a house. The father had a dream of buying a house and just putting the family in a great position, just like any father would do, in a legit way, you know what I mean? Like in a legit way, obviously they go to the States, the American dream or whatnot. But the hustle that the family had to go through, and and the father who was played by, let me get his name out there as well, because he was freaking awesome too. Let me see if I can find it. Julio Cesar Cedillo, who was absolutely amazing. He played his father. That you can see it in his face that of course he doesn't want his kids. We're talking about these kids that were like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, his 3 kids or whatever, working in these fields to pick fruits and whatnot. I mean, it's crazy waking them all up at like 4 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever it is, go and drive down to these different fields to pick the fruit, and then they go to school. I mean, you can see the father done a great job to Julio does a great job that you can see in his face, man. He doesn't want to put his kids through this. But the only way they can make it work, and that's just that hustling immigrant mentality, as Joey Diaz calls it, of if we gotta make it work, legitimately. You know what I'm trying to say? Like legit work. And then even through legit work, they get fucked over and all this sort of stuff. It happens. But it reminds me of my father. That's why I was very like touched with his character, because my father, no matter what, worked 2 to 3 jobs just to put a roof over our head and food on the table, and everything was legit. And when I mean legit, my father had friends who were, I won't go into it, but they just went into like other lines of business and whatnot. And even from a religious perspective, my father always could have opened up a restaurant, but he never wanted to get into the alcohol selling business and whatnot. So he always put that aside, seeing everyone, not going to name names and whatnot, but friends of his or whatnot that are opening up these businesses and selling alcohol and doing this other sort of stuff and making money. And he was like, no, I'd rather work an extra job somewhere to do things legit. So, there's always that relation I always feel, and that connection with like immigrant families, immigrant fathers, especially, and that hustling family, father, especially in general. So Julio does a great job of showing that. But what I loved about it was, the character Julio Hernandez. No, sorry, it's not Julio Hernandez. Jose Hernandez. From what they showed in the movie, he was smart. As a kid, as a young boy, he knew mathematics and whatnot, and he was definitely had an academic intelligence that was natural to him, as well as like I say, working in these fields. As he went to school, they showed scenes of him just being very smart with mathematics and whatnot. They didn't portray him as to be like this super genius, like in like Good Will Hunting, for example, and just solving these crazy mathematical equations. It wasn't something like that. They didn't show that, but he was great with numbers. He was great with mathematics. And then he had a great teacher, Miss Young, who was played by Michelle Krusek. Hopefully I said that right. And she was a pinnacle person in his life. And what was amazing was when he was gonna go, when he was gonna be an astronaut and he was gonna go up and whatnot, she showed up. Like, I'm assuming it's based on a real story. I'm assuming they didn't make most of this stuff up. You know what I mean? Some of it, I'm sure they Hollywoodified it, as I would call it. But she showed up again, and there was a project they done when they were kids, in her class. What do you want to be when you grow up? And he drew a picture of an astronaut, and it was just amazing that he had this dream, like he was on these cornfields, and that was his spaceship. And then he saw the first flight to space. I can't remember what it was, but back then on television, and he was just inspired from then as a child. And most people, as kids might think, like when a kid says you want to be an astronaut, or in general, if people want to say you want to be an astronaut, it's kind of like one of those things that you might not take that person serious. And that's what happens to him, especially being an immigrant farm worker and whatnot. But this teacher had a belief in him, like whether he was going to be an astronaut or not, she just knew there was bigger things for him, just because she saw his potential and whatnot. And just her showing up at the house, speaking to the parents, is a brave thing to do. And that's, an amazing thing that a teacher like that could do. I mean, there's not many people out there that would do that. Some teachers, God bless them, they're there to support and get the, help the children and whatnot. But there's that few that will go out their way and just help that child and that family in a certain way. But just her going to that family, speaking to the parents and saying, you got to let your son grow. You've got to let this tree grow. Otherwise, if you keep moving around and you keep not letting him have his base, his roots are not going to grow into what his potential can be. So she played a pinnacle point in that. But what was amazing about the whole movie was, again, and Michael Pena done a great job about this, was to show the struggle. So he became an engineer in a company. It was difficult for him to fit in. People thought he was Janelle, all that sort of stuff, but it just didn't break him. And I think it was the will of just the hard upbringing that he had as a child, but also the sacrifice that his father made. I mean, it's the same thing that me and Kibs always feel like about our father. Like, I can never let my father down. I can never let my grandfather down for what they've sacrificed to put me in the position that I'm in today, and probably sacrifice whatever dreams they might have had to put me in the position that I'm in today. And it's the same thing with him. His father's event, like they wanted that money because they wanted to buy a house somewhere. I can't remember the area or whatnot. But the father, because after what the teacher spoke to him about, like, you've got to let your son grow. You've got to let your son be in this base and come to school and all that sort of stuff. He sacrificed his dream of buying that house, for the better of his children. And just the way, he became an engineer, trying to overcome fitting in and all that sort of stuff. He was like a typical Mexican. And this movie came, by the way, it's Mexican Heritage Month, which I'm assuming why this came out. And I just wanted to throw out there, this is part of history. End of the day, I didn't know there was this individual out there. You know what I mean? I didn't know there was a Mexican heritage individual who grew up from the farms as a kid, who grew up picking fruits in a farm as a kid, and then became an astronaut. I mean, these are inspirational stories. These are why these things have been stuck in my head. And it's great to know these little parts of history, because anyone going to space is really it's a freaking scary thing to do, man. Some people might think it's fake. I don't know. That's not the argument here, whatever. But what I'm saying is like, it's an inspirational thing to do, and knowing that this individual did it from where he came from, it's just amazing. But you know, the story goes on about his life, and it's you could just see as he progressed. Yes, I don't think he gave up any of his Mexican heritage, but he changed things. You know, he changed his car, he changed the music he was listening to, and all that sort of stuff, just to kind of fit into this company and let everyone know. He didn't get the opportunities to speak much, so he took things into his own hands. He made things happen. You know what I mean? There was they're working on some experiment. I don't know exactly what it was. I'm not that smart. Anyway, but nobody would listen to him, and so he just went and figured it out himself. And that's what sometimes you have to do. Like, you know, listen, people, you know, he worked hard and he overcame adversity and he overcame obstacles and he moved forward. He didn't let his circumstances hold him back, you know. But, you know, that doesn't mean it'll work out for everyone. Of course, you all got to work hard. We all got to do this thing, but sometimes it is a bit of luck, faith, whatever it is and whatnot. But the point is, you shouldn't give up. And that's what he didn't do. He didn't give up. And it was absolutely amazing how he kind of just kept moving forward with that, just being rejected and whatnot. While he was working there, being rejected, fitting in, but then at the same time, he was applying to NASA as well, and he's just getting rejected. He got rejected over 12 times, and you can only apply once a year, and he got rejected 12 times. So that's 12 years as he was trying to get in there. But even with the engineering company and whatnot, like eventually what he showed was, I can overcome, you know, what I'm going through here, like not being able to fit in. He's got this skill set, he's got this intelligence, this ambition, but he's not being allowed to express that. He's not being allowed to follow through with that just because of circumstances and stuff like that. So he took things into his own hand, and what ended up happening is he started leading the team and whatnot, because he had to show his intelligence, and you can't deny that. You can't deny someone's intelligence. You can't deny that someone knows the job. Listen, there's cultural biases and all that shit out there for sure. But if you show that, you can't deny me, regardless of whatever biases you might have, you know, the individual who you show, if that's a good individual, you know what I mean? Like that person will overcome those biases and be like, you know what? Whatever biases I had in my head, you just show me that's all bullshit. And you as an individual, I need you to be a part of my team or lead whatever. So that's what he did. That's what he ended up doing, which was amazing. But it was what was amazing about his journey to becoming the astronaut. Like I said, he got rejected 12 times. And what I loved was his wife was amazing as well. Marissa, played by sorry. His wife was Adela Hernandez, and it was played by Rosa Salazar. And she was amazing as well. She was a pinnacle part in his story as well, because even when she heard his dream about being an astronaut, she was laughing at him and whatnot. But anyway, she you know, when she realized he was serious, she supported him like in the best way possible. You know, I mean, she had a dream, and what I love about this story is like she had a dream as well to open up a restaurant. And not only that, this story about having a dream and follow through was just about him, it was about his wife as well. He ended up helping his wife get that restaurant as well. And that's what I love about this character. It made his dreams come true and his wife's dream come true as well, which is absolutely amazing. But what I loved about it was, you know, his wife found out that he's been applying to NASA and whatnot, but he never told her and whatnot. And he's been getting rejected for 6 years. Every year he's getting rejected. And she sat down with him, and it was just amazing when she was like, well, these people that are getting accepted, what do they have that you don't have? And I love that. I love that, just overcoming the adversity, understanding what is necessary and going out there and getting it. And just completely going out of his comfort zone. You know, and that's like being a pilot and getting a certain, you know, amount of miles up there, doing deep dive, scuba diving and whatnot, getting enough time there, and, you know, being athletically good and running and all that sort of stuff. And so over the years that he got rejected, understanding what the individuals who got accepted, what they had that he didn't have, he just went and learned those things, which is amazing. And then still getting rejected up to the 12th time. And he actually showed up, showed up rather than sending an application through post, he showed up. And the fact that the guy, who was the guy, the NASA guy, let's find this guy. The NASA guy was it this guy? Frederick W. Stern, I think it was, played by Garrett Dillahunt. I believe it was him. Anyway, or it might have been Clint Logan. I think it was Clint Logan, played by Eric Johnson. Anyway, the fact that this NASA guy knew who he was, right? Because he's applied 11 times. And when he said, I'm Jose Hernandez, he was like, oh, yeah, I know who you are. Like, you could have just applied by post. And he was determined on that 12th test. He's like, no, I wanted to do this in person. He flew all the way to Houston, Texas, I believe, and said, I wanted to deliver this in person, and kind of sold himself there that I got the miles, the air miles. I'm a pilot. I've done the scuba diving. I've done this. I've done that, as well as everything else that I've achieved and whatnot, and tried to achieve since he's been applying for the last 12 years. And he said it straight, like, if I don't get accepted this time, I'm going to be here same time next year in person, giving you my application. And that was amazing. That was what I keep thinking about, like what he keep getting rejected. And it's not just about keeping applying. It wasn't just about applying and not giving up. It was, what do I have to do new this year to get in there? Do you know what I mean? That's the hustle which was been on my mind. You know what I mean? He figured out what I need to do that everyone else that's been accepted has, that I don't have, to get in there. That's what I loved about the movie and this character. To get to the point where he becomes an astronaut, and then going through that training, and even through that training, there's like, you're gonna make sacrifices. Your hair now, but now you've got this training, and you're gonna make more sacrifices. And we're talking about family sacrifices and stuff, which is difficult. Kind of leaving his family to it. He's still trying to be a father, still hustling for his kid. He had, I think, like 4 or 5 kids or whatnot. So could you imagine that, like, just from a child, the hustle he went through from a child, and picking fruits and whatnot, to the point of being rejected over 12 years to get into NASA. And then once he gets in there, there's a new hustle that he has to go through, and sacrifice he has to go through, with the training and the sacrifice he's got to make with his family and everything, to the point that he gets it, and that feeling is just absolutely amazing. Just expressing it through the movie was just absolutely amazing when he actually makes it. His teacher shows up again, as I mentioned earlier, with the picture that he drew, and she's like, I knew you had it in you. I mean, just all those little things just made it amazing. And it's that's why it's been on my mind, just like that hustle, that hard work, that overcoming adversity, that never giving up attitude, but working hard at it, learning new skills to get where you want to go, not feeling privileged, not feeling like you need to be given shit, like you're working extra harder than the next person next to you, whatnot, showing that you can be better than everyone else, or showing that even if people are better than you, I'm gonna show you how I can catch up. Or I might not be as good as them, but I'm going to show you I can hustle as hard as them, or harder than them, in fact. You know what I mean? It's all these sort of things which I love. And I can relate to that a little bit myself, because I'm not academically smart. I've never been academically smart. I have problem reading. If you watch the podcast, I can't read for shit. And spell and all that sort of stuff. But with work myself, I think one of the things that I take pride in is I feel like I can hustle more than most people. A lot of people are super smart and whatnot. They have the academic intelligence, and I'm trying to keep up with them. But one thing, like, what qualities do I have over them? They have the academic intelligence over me. What qualities do I have over them? And so some of that is hustling harder. Some of that is being a good human being. Like, some of those just some simple values of, like, being a human being. I won't go into it, but just for me, I just remember, like, coming across very smart academically individuals, but they were hard to work with, so nobody ever wanted to work with them. So their academic intelligence became irrelevant. With me just being that, like a human being, and being able to talk to people, being able to work with people in such a great manner, has helped push me, building relationships and all that stuff. So again, like each individual, we're individuals. We're never going to be the same academically or whatever it is, but you can find what you're good at or what you can do. And, as Jose Hernandez, what I saw was he found that he can hustle harder than anyone else. And that's what he did by learning all those skill sets, getting him in there. And that's why I think I could take away a little bit, not learning those skill sets, but I'm just in regards to different things, hustling hard and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, that's why the movie was absolutely amazing. And knowing that it's based on a true story, knowing that there's this individual out there, Jose Hernandez, that made his dreams come true, that made his wife's dream come true, that his father's and family's sacrifice was not for nothing, not letting his father down, just making everyone proud, and on this crazy dream of becoming an astronaut, let alone being successful. We're talking about being an astronaut. When everyone just hears that, they just start laughing and whatnot. And he made it happen. He made it happen by overcoming the odds, overcoming obstacles, by hustling, learning, moving forward. Again, learning from his competition, learning from his failures, learning from the people that we're getting, learning from competition. That's just amazing, rather than just being like in any other mind frame of like giving up or feeling entitled or just blaming it on the system or racism or whatnot. It's like, no, like I'm not gonna go down that line. I'm gonna show you why you need me. And that's what he did. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, no, guys, check it out. Amazon Prime, you have to check it out. A Million Miles Away. Like it's again, I think it's a part of history. It's great to know these people's stories. It's an uplifting story, something that you could get motivated by yourself, and just follow your dreams. Obviously that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate vision of this story. What am I trying to say? That's the ultimate plot of the story of this biopic. Follow your dreams no matter what. And if it's really, truly your dream, you will find a way to do that. But it's going to take a lot of hard work and learning and failing and failing and failing and failing, but learning from those failures and exceeding in that and constantly working. So that's the ultimate plot of the whole biopic. But there's people out there like that make it happen. Again, circumstances are different for certain people. Even though he was in a bad circumstances, not everyone in them circumstances make it. You know what I mean? So that's just the realism of life, but it doesn't mean it should stop you from doing what you want to do, or getting in pointing yourself in that direction. So absolutely beautiful. Listen, guys, check it out. Amazon Prime, Million Miles Away, amazing movie. And I just wanted to express my thoughts on it. I really did. So I'm gonna leave it there. Guys. I think I managed to express everything I wanted to on that. And yeah, on that note, guys, thanks for liking, subscribing, watching, all the other sort of stuff. Like these movie reviews that I give, I can't do what other people do. Again, this is like going back to the movie. Like I could do it my way, which is just have a cup of tea and just give you my thoughts and just talk. I can't go into like, I don't know, like, people cut it up and do it really nice and smooth. I can't do that shit. I just need to press record, have a cup of tea and talk about it and express my thoughts. That's the style of movie review that I can give and just tell you how I feel about it from a random guy's perspective. Anyway, guys, I'm out. Thanks a lot. Peace.